A week from now, I'm going to be losing my voice screaming for Governor DeSantis live in person in Florida. And I don't mean screaming as in like Gen Z text screaming where you post screaming happy birthday to my day one. No, I'm like, and then you're saying that and you're just sitting there silent as a little church mouse saying it. No, I mean legit screaming. You could be too. If you just said, screw it, I want to do something spontaneous this summer, I'm going to score last-minute tickets to Turning Point USA's Student Action Summit, July 22nd through 24th in Tampa. Your last chance for tickets is at tpusa.com/SAS with code Alex. That's tpusa.com/SAS and use code Alex. Grab your Starbucks because this episode is tea. Maybe you know today's guest from his viral rant reels in the Starbucks line, or maybe you know him by his signature Givenchy pullover as he fills up his car at the overpriced gas stations of Beverly Hills, or maybe you're a fan of his super successful podcast, Uncancelable. Are these hints ringing a bell? Here's another hint. His dad is a famous athlete and Heisman Trophy winner and also happens to be friends with President Trump. In fact, today's guest is here to talk for the first time about his relationship with his father. We'll get into the mental disorder that defined his dad's life years ago and how it shaped his own worldview growing up with a parent that struggles with mental illness. We'll also get his hot takes on the LGBTQ community, gay adoption and gay surrogacy, celebrities secretly sliding into his DMs to hang out, who we like, who we don't like right now in the conservative movement, his dream influencers to collab with, and more. It's Spillover time with a very, very, very special guest and my friend, podcast host, social media personality extraordinaire, TikTok king, and self-proclaimed free speech radicalist, Christian Walker. I think it's only right that we start off sharing our Starbucks orders are what they are today, because
love that.
Normally I don't do this, and this isn't an ad or anything, but I think we need to share because that's kind of your thing.
I'm a big Starbucks drive-through person, yes.
And they were out of, what'd you want, matcha?
I was going to get matcha today because I didn't want to give them my difficult order, but Angel got me my good order.
Producer Valentina. Yeah, I always get strawberry acai refresher with apple juice instead of water, and then I get extra ice and no strawberry scoop because I hate those stupid bits that get stuck in the straw.
I get apple juice instead of water too.
Really?
That's like a big trick. So my afternoon order is iced matcha with coconut milk, but my morning OG coffee order is 3 shots of espresso over ice in a venti cup, 1 pump vanilla, 1 pump white mocha, whipped cream on top, no milk.
Now, do you go to the same Starbucks every day? You have your regular and they know you and your order, or do you try to go to different places because people are starting to catch on and know you?
There's 2 I go to, and it's so weird. It's like different workers every day. They don't know me.
Really?
It's insane.
Well, I'm sure they probably can't keep anybody around. That's probably why there's a high turnover. Okay, so I think we should give a huge congratulations to you because you just graduated.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm done with indoctrination camp.
Oh my gosh. Tell us about that. Where did you go? What was your major?
So I went to SMU for 2 years and then I transferred to UCLA. I was a Chinese major and also studied international development. It was a disaster. My first few years at SMU were perfect. I wasn't talking politics, had great friends, lots of conservatives there, and it was just a normal college experience. And then the summer transferring into UCLA, I started talking politics online, started getting death threats from fellow students, and had to go to school with security.
Every day?
Every day I had class on campus, yes.
And they just sat next to your desk or outside the door or what?
They outside the door, and he would just escort me to class. Mark, love him. And and yeah, my parents insisted on it.
Do you have to have security everywhere or only at school?
No, I can't. My parents would probably like that, but absolutely not. It was just with school.
Kyle Rittenhouse ended up getting, he's got emotional support dogs he takes everywhere. He doesn't go anywhere without those dogs.
I mean, he probably needs it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he brought them here when he came to visit Turning Point. So, okay, you can speak Mandarin then?
I do. I speak Chinese, Mandarin.
Okay, now what in the world kind of started this love of Chinese culture and Mandarin language for you?
I have always been obsessed with difficult foreign language. Don't let a leftist see this, but when I was really little, my mom would speak like fake Chinese to me while she like tickled me, and I would just like die laughing. And so she'll say like that's where I got my obsession. But I just always was so interested. I wanted to learn, and so I took it all through high school. Had a private tutor at some point, and then majored in it.
And then what's the plan post-graduation for you?
Well, I wanted to do like international finance, but that's over now. I'm like
Why?
talking crap online.
You think you're just going to pursue like full
Yes,
throttle influencer
media,
thing?
and I have different things going on right now, and I'm looking to start a clothing line, so I'm just on a totally different track. But
Well,
it was a
in the
good
green
dream.
room waiting to film, we had some Turning Point employee come up and ask you where you had gotten some sweatshirt or something. Sounds like fashion influencer Christian Walker.
I know, so surprising. But yeah, so that's out, and I think, my life's changed a lot in the past couple of years, that's for sure.
Who was worse to deal with? I mean, the professors or the other students on campus?
Now, the professors are pretty retarded, but it was more the students. I believe in fighting professors. So if they docked me on grades or whatever, I'd go to office hours and I'd fight for a higher grade if I wrote like a conservative-esque paper. And they weren't too bad. The students are deranged. Just
What was the
out
most
of their
controversial
mind.
take you wrote about in a paper during your college career?
Like an immigration moratorium.
Ooh, that's good. So very like build the wall-esque.
It was like a refugee paper she wanted us to write, and I was like, I wrote against it, and she's like, this was not the assignment, and I'm like, well, everything in here is true.
Yeah.
So.
Do you feel like you're kind of a staple piece of LA now? Like you're graduated, you could go do whatever you want, but are you planning on staying there and keeping your roots there?
I think it's important. First of all, I love LA. I have my own little life. I'm a big introvert, so I do whatever I want. And
It's funny that you say that you're a big introvert because I'm actually a lot more introverted than people think too.
yeah, no, I like love to talk online, but like my everyday life, I'm very much introverted. I do a lot of things alone. I have one really close friend that I do a lot with, but I'm not some like party crazy out all the time. I'm a big homebody. So I love Los Angeles. I love the life that it gives me. And I hope to go back and forth between maybe there and somewhere red one day. But for now, I'm staying.
Well, it's Pride Month right now at the time that we're recording this episode. Tell us why we won't see you celebrating in West Hollywood.
You won't see me out because I don't need to walk around the streets naked and have sex behind dumpsters to know who I'm attracted to. So
I found out, okay, now you can tell me this, if this is true or not. I found out a couple weeks back that it's a huge thing in gay communities to have sex in forests.
They have sex in dumpsters, behind dumpsters,
Why?
in forests. I just think they're a very the foundation of the relationships a lot of times is very sex based.
Is that why you don't see a lot of gay people like in long-term relationships with each other? Like I feel like you'll be with someone for a couple years and
you
there's
hop
a lot.
around?
Yeah.
Well, and even a lot of the relationships that are long term are open. So it's
Yes.
a sex-based relationship and they're still having sex with other people. It's not, the same thing in the straight community. I think the stat is about 2 to 3% of straight relationships are open and minimum 30% of gay relationships are open. So it's just a totally different thing.
Well, that's becoming a huge thing on TikTok now. Did you see all the Mormon TikTok drama, the open marriage
no, I
thing?
didn't see it. But the polyamory, all of it. Yeah, very much is.
Huge thing, like these gorgeous Mormon blogger moms in Utah, the Utah mom thing, and it all came out that they're all in open marriages, and it's a huge scandal on TikTok.
I need to look into that, but they should maybe pack up and go to West Hollywood. They'd be in good company with the rainbowers.
How like what kinds of stuff have you seen so far, just with Pride Month and everything? Like, what's some of the craziest stuff you've seen?
So I've been talking crap the whole month, and I was just like, thank God I don't live on the gay side of West Hollywood. I'm in the normal, non-psycho side, and literally the week after I said that, I'm pulling out of my garage on Sunday, and my garage is being blocked by a bus full of drag queens.
What?
There's naked men on my street.
Just coincidence,
literally.
or they know that's your house?
No, just coincidence because
Okay.
the Pride March was going through. So, I mean, that was crazy. And then as I pulled off, I saw a mom bringing her 4-year-olds to the Pride March with all these naked men in leather.
That's the part I
it's
don't
just
understand.
Disturbing.
drag shows and stuff for adults, whatever, but I do not understand the obsession with, but we need to have children there. Now the LGBTQ lobby is saying it's necessary for children to be able to go to drag shows.
I mean, it's insane. They want to expose their kids to that. And it's, again, very sexual in nature. Drag queens are so sexual, and that's just not a topic that children should be around at all.
What's your deal right now? Like, are you dating anyone? Seriously talking to anyone?
No, I'm not. Because
because why?
Well, a number of things. But again, I find that a lot of gay men are very insecure, very, hiding a trauma, covering it up with drinking, drugs, sex, a million different things. And I'm not sure I'm looking for that right now, and a number of other reasons. But
do you feel like most gay people do grow up with some sort of trauma, or do you think that's like a rumor that straight people say?
No, and I think a lot of gay men are open about that. They'll say, no, that's not why we're gay, or no, that's not the truth. But then if you talk to them individually, yeah, there is oftentimes a lot of trauma at the root of their lives.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's why we see a lot of the behavior that we see. Does that mean we shouldn't have compassion? I have extra compassion for people who've gone through trauma. I mean, no, we should love on them, but that doesn't mean I'm going to sit down and praise your bad behavior. No.
Have you been in any serious relationships yet in your life, or you're just like more casual?
Yeah, I have.
Have you been in love?
I think so, but sometimes when you look back, you go, I don't know if that was like love. I don't know. But yeah.
I mean, do you think that sometimes there's people in the gay community in LA that really seek you out because they want to, not even necessarily to date or anything, but they just want a friend like, dude, I'm conservative too, but I cannot say. Like, have you had that happen where you've got gay people just coming out to you as conservative?
Yes, there's a lot in Los Angeles, especially. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of you say stuff that I can't say. There's a lot of even gay liberals, which then we'll talk about why I don't identify as gay, because that's a big thing I'm about. But
talk about it.
Well, I say I don't identify as gay because I'm attracted to men, but I just feel that this term gay has turned into a lifestyle. And, I'm not hooking up with 4 people per weekend. I'm not going to gay clubs every week. I'm not having sex behind dumpsters. So it's like, I don't even want to be grouped in with those people. It's such a small facet of my identity. I don't want any part of it. So that's that. But yeah, there's a number of LA liberal gays who say, oh my gosh, you say all of the things I want to say, like retarded, like you don't listen to any of the rules, because that is kind of gay culture. They've always been catty, but now with wokeness, they're not allowed to say certain things. And so they find humor in sort of my commentary, even if they don't agree with a thing I say. So that's interesting.
And I feel like that same sentiment can be said for Alex HRH collection. Like, yes. People are so obsessed with her because she says everything that you are not, quote unquote, allowed to say right now. And I really do feel like you are the male version of Alex HRH and she's the girl version of you. Like, you guys are so similar in your content and just your views, calling people out. Like, you don't care. Like, she literally says, like, the gay pride flag is so ugly. Like, the ugliest rainbow colors.
And it's
disgusting. And it is. And like, all of that is so hilarious. Have you guys ever talked or gotten to hang out or anything? Because you guys both live near each other.
We do. We keep trying to coordinate like a dinner, so we'll definitely be hanging out soon. But
I need to see a Christian Walker Ming picture. You know her dog?
Gosh, I love Ming.
I know.
Ming is an angel. Ming's a human. Ming gets the vibe.
Like, I don't know why. You guys do need to link up. You guys should do a video. You should go on her channel and you should go try her jewelry and go see her studio and all that.
And then she needs to come to Starbucks with me. We'll do a Starbucks drive.
But like, how iconic would that collab be?
It'd be so iconic.
It would blow up the internet because her fans would be like, and like it was so funny because I got so much crap for having her on my podcast, actually.
Really?
From conservatives. Like, they were so pissed off because she swears a lot and stuff.
So I was about to say, I love Alex. I love HRH because she's so cultural. And, conservatives, sometimes behave like the left. Listen, not everyone needs to agree with everything that we believe or behave exactly how we behave to be an asset. Yeah. For our movement.
I would say this is where I lean. I think what's become this huge like topic of contention between conservatives right now is this, okay, but are you just a member of a certain party or are you conservative? Like, if you claim to be conservative, some people would say, well, Christian, you can't claim to be conservative because you like to date men and that's not typical conservative values. Like, what do you say to that?
Well, my response is right now, I'm not dating men. I'm not dating.
Yeah.
I'm attracted to men. And that's another reason why I say I'm not going to say I'm gay, because I'm attracted to men. Can you choose who you're attracted to? No, you can choose if you sleep with a man. You can't choose who you're attracted to. So does me being attracted to men mean I don't believe in the traditional family? Absolutely not. I do. Do I think children need to be raised by a mom and dad? Yes, I do.
So wait, do you want to get married and have kids?
I mean, I can't even answer that. I think it's different every day, and I think my life experiences create a struggle within me. Some days I'm like, you know what? I deserve a strong man in my life. I feel like that's been missing. I didn't really have that necessarily. I want a strong man. I want a protector. Other days I'm like, Jesus is my protector. I don't need a strong man. Other days I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. It changes every day because of my life experiences.
Yeah.
So to even put that on me, which honestly conservatives don't really, because I talk about it, but it's unfair. I do agree that sometimes someone says they're conservative and they don't behave like that, and there can sort of be a conflict, but I'm all about right now, we're so far in a corner, and we need as many people on the team as we can get, and they don't need to believe everything we believe to help us and where we're trying to go in the country.
Speaking of all the gay stuff, how do you feel about someone like Allie Beth Stuckey in the conservative movement?
Love.
I am shocked.
I mean, I've always loved her because I believe in Christian values. Like, it's like, oh my gosh, like you should never look at someone who maybe behaves differently than you and judge them based on that. I think you should say what life experiences have led them to be like that. In my case, I hope that people do a little bit of critical thinking and go, I wonder why he's like that.
But you know, Allie, but someone like Allie's position from a Christian theological perspective would be to you, she'd be like, it's okay to be attracted to men, like you are. Like, I acknowledge that, but then, you know, if that's what you struggle with, then you shouldn't act on it, and you should basically say, I'm going to be celibate. How would you feel about that?
I mean, it's the Christian worldview, and I love Jesus.
So would you be into it?
I mean, kinda, but it's just not that simple, of course.
Yeah.
But what I love about her is I love how she never bows down to the mob, which none of us do, but she speaks out about these things. But the best thing, and the thing that just touched my heart that she spoke out about, is I am against gay surrogacy. Demonic.
Okay, so...
Why?
Yeah.
Okay. You know, gay adoption, we'll put that in the corner for now. Gay adoption, or adoption period, is when someone goes to adopt, this is a child who maybe both parents died, doesn't have a home. Mm-hmm. So they're bringing a child in and they're saying, so this goes for straight surrogacy and gay surrogacy, basically. They're going, I'm going to give this child a loving home, and I'm going to do the best job to support this child and create an adult that can go be a contributing member of society, and I'm going to love on him like it's my own, and he's going to become my child, he or she. Gay surrogacy specifically is saying, I'm purposely creating a child, a motherless or fatherless child. We already have the stats on father absence. I'm sure the stats on mother absence are terrible too, but that is one of the most cruel things you can do, because you as an adult want a child. Because you selfishly want a kid. I want to be a parent, like it's a pet, like you're going and adopting a dog. You want to be a parent. You're purposely creating a child that's already going to have a disadvantage because they're not going to have a mom in the home, or they're not going to have a dad in the home. Yeah. That's selfish. That's not right.
Does Allie follow you?
I don't think so. I don't know.
Have you ever talked to her before? Have
no,
you
but I
met her?
would love to. I would love to. I adore her. But
see, this is another, okay, you know how awesome. So Conservatives love Relatable with Allie Beth Stuckey, her show.
She's great.
And she does a lot of interviews. She should have you on and you guys should talk about all this.
I would love to. Because, listen, here's the thing about me. I might struggle with certain things, or I might feel certain ways, or I might do certain things that I don't always agree with. We all make mistakes, or we all do stuff we shouldn't be doing, whatever. But that doesn't move the truth in my eyes. Like, the truth is solid. So yes, when she came out against Dave Rubin kind of when all these conservatives, I mean, that was just mind-blowing.
Well, I don't know that she necessarily came out against him. I mean, they work together at the Blaze.
Yeah, and they love each other.
And they're friends.
Yeah, that's what I like.
I think she just said, I won't say congratulations because I disagree with the lifestyle.
Beautiful. And I thought that was amazing. And I thought, leftists, can y'all watch that for a minute? Can you take note? You can love someone and you can say, like, I adore you, but I don't adore the decision you're making.
Yeah.
And whatever. I actually was talking to a gay friend, and then I want to talk about gay conservatives for a second.
Okay.
I was talking to a gay friend who I said, I disagree with gay surrogacy, and they said, well, what if I did? Like, would you like not be my friend anymore? And I'm like, no, I would still say like love you to death, but I think what you're doing is wrong, and I think it's cruel. This person was actually a gay conservative who I love.
What does that mean? Gay conservative in quotes.
Well, I have to do the quotes.
You doing that.
Because I think, and this spans all conservatives, not just gays. Like we were talking about, you can have people who believe in certain aspects of conservatism but don't behave conservatively. I still want their votes, of course, and I still want their activism to a certain extent, but there's a lot of gay conservatives like that are having sex behind dumpsters at pride marches. I'm just like, I'm against that whole movement, so I don't know how that's conservative, but I guess people could say the same about me, like you said earlier. I get that, but this gay conservative thing, I'm making a child through surrogacy, I'm in an open relationship.
How do you feel about that group?
I have a lot of friends in Log Cabin and love them as individuals. That's my big thing. I love people as an individual. My relationships are one-on-one, and I love my friends. Just because you're my friend and you're involved in something doesn't mean I support everything you do.
Who are you the closest to gay conservative, open gay conservative? Who do you
like
get
in
along
the
with?
Movement?
Yeah, like who do you get along with the best? Like I'm thinking like Rob Smith, David.
I love David.
Yeah. What's his last name?
Leatherwood. I love him to death. And like we have disagreements sometimes and it doesn't affect our relationship at all. Love him to death. But yeah, I think that's a big thing, especially in our movement, and it should be a big thing for our culture. You can love someone, you can value someone, you can be their friend and not agree with all of their life choices. And you should be able to be open with them about it. Yeah, I think you're cruel for creating a motherless child. That's wrong. My mom was a big part of my life. Can't imagine my life without my mom. So growing up with two dads would be retarded.
Well, even, the conversation about IVF, surrogacy, all that, even with straight couples is super controversial right now. Like a lot of people in the conservative movement are even saying, oh, do we even agree with things like IVF or surrogacy just for straight couples? Like that's really kind of blown up from a pro-life standpoint. Like, do we agree or disagree with this?
That's one thing I thought Allie Beth Stuckey talked about brilliantly, where she was talking about, if we believe, which we do, that a child is a child in the womb.
Yeah.
Well,
life begins at conception.
Life begins at conception. Your child is more at a risk for death if he's in a surrogacy. He or she is in a surrogacy's womb. Why are you even doing that to your child?
It is a fascinating conversation, and I love eventually, whether it's her, have somebody else on to kind of go into like do a whole episode on the surrogacy IVF stuff, and I've gotten a lot of requests for that. But Allie really was the person to kind of bring that up, I think, as a topic of conversation this year, early like January, when she started talking about this on her podcast.
She was great.
But I think so Christian, HRH, Christian, Allie Beth Stuckey. Now we have a lot of collabs that we need to see happen.
I know. Thank you.
Have you watched Keep Sweet, Pray and Obey on Netflix yet? It's about Warren Jeff's FLDS cult, an offshoot of mainstream Mormonism. He had 87 wives and over 60 children. He required the girls to wear overly modest clothing. Like, you think of Warren Jeffs, you think of those girls in those pastel, weird dresses. He told members of the cult that the regular Mormons had gotten it all wrong and that his special group were actually God's chosen people. And, of course, sexually abused children and all kinds of horrific stuff. And this is the super, super, super Spark Notes version to remind you how sick and twisted the FLDS is. Well, back in February, if you remember of this year, I shared with you a charity called Pen and Napkin that's very near and dear to my heart because they help fully furnish and decorate homes for women and children transitioning out of homelessness and sex trafficking. We actually raised $5,000 in honor of my birthday for Pen and Napkin. And the founder is also, fun fact, my personal interior designer for my apartment. And look how awesome this is. Okay, so this all ties together, I promise. So Pen and Napkin has partnered with Chrissy Hammer, who you know too, because she redesigned the Poplitic set to raise money for a single mom who escaped FLDS and is starting completely over. This family of 5 just got their house, and Pen and Napkin with Chrissy Hammer will be fully furnishing and decorating it, but cannot do it without the help of Conservatives. This is such a unique and special opportunity to bless someone who has gone through unspeakable terror by people who have completely warped the true story of the gospel. Conservatives, we need you to band together and become Conservatives today. Go to penandnapkin.org/Alex to see the campaign, read this family story, and donate. That's penandnapkin.org/Alex. You talked about how you just brought up, well, sometimes I think like I really want to be with this strong guy, a masculine man, because I didn't really feel like I had that protector growing up. And one thing I don't really think that I've ever heard you kind of dive into or talk about really is your childhood. And just the stuff that went on there. So would you be willing to kind of go into that?
I am, yeah. I think it's funny you say that because I'm so open online, but I'm open about my views. I don't really talk about my life. And a lot of people bring that up. Some people are like, you're so open. And then other people are like, but we don't really know a lot about you. So yeah. I am willing to dive into that a little bit more.
Well, I think it was around 2008, your dad, Herschel Walker, if someone living under a rock doesn't know, like super famous running back. Okay, so he wrote this book. I believe that's the right year. I might be wrong. But he wrote a book just talking about how he discovered that he had DID. And so DID is dissociative identity disorder. It used to be called multiple personalities, but I don't know if it's like a PC thing or what, but they changed it now to be called DID. But he didn't. Am I correct in saying that he didn't really know that was what was going on with him for a lot of his life? Not until the mid-2000s, right, that he was diagnosed?
Yeah, so from what I know, I think, he's been struggling with that for a long time. Didn't know what it was, hadn't been diagnosed. And then, yes, was diagnosed early 2000s, late 1990s, and yes.
So, growing up with a dad or a parent, I should say, just struggling with mental illness, what did your childhood, what do you remember your childhood looking like on a day-to-day basis? Like, I don't remember how long your parents were together before they divorced or anything, or what you remember.
Yeah, so my parents divorced when I was 2, and I was mainly with my mom. I also think, when you're growing up in a bit of an abnormal childhood, and I think any childhood that doesn't have a mom and a dad in the house is abnormal. Sure, everybody has a different childhood. Even if you have 2 parents in the house, it can look very differently. But abnormality, that's just not how we were created to be brought up without a mom and a dad in the house. So you think that's your normal. So looking back, I can oftentimes say, oh my gosh, well, that experience definitely wasn't normal, or that shouldn't have happened, or whatever. But going through it, I was just surviving.
Do you remember certain episodes of violence or different things going on as a kid?
Yes, I do. There was so much that happened that, nobody necessarily really knows about. And it's not hard to talk about, but it's odd. It's weird.
Yeah.
Because you can sometimes feel like you're like dogging your parent.
Yeah.
But it's what happened.
No, it's what happened. And it's not like we're saying anything also that your dad hasn't shared, because he wrote a whole book about it. But
But yes, I do remember a plethora.
Well, and obviously growing up, you knew that you were different from other kids from a financial standpoint. But there had to have been a moment too where you were like, okay, besides just not having your parents both in the same house, there had to have been a moment where you're like, okay, I'm different from other families in general. Do you remember like where you kind of realized that difference?
So, it's funny, when I was really little and all through elementary school, I didn't know I was super financially different because my mom didn't. She didn't. I mean, yes, she spoiled me and she totally doted on me, but we weren't like, living in some gargantuan house that was different than my friends' house.
Yeah.
I grew up in a very like safe community, and so I just thought my life was like everyone's. One difference that I did know was like, oh, my parents aren't together. All my friends or all the kids I went to school with, their parents were together. So it was a bit odd, like, sometimes my mom picking me up or there being a like weird switch off because my parents didn't talk to each other for a long time. So like my mom not being able to see my dad. So that was odd. And then, as you grow, figuring out that your dad like is a celebrity, and then figuring out that yes, you live a financially blessed life compared to everyone else. But the first thing that was notable to me was that my parents weren't together, and there was like, that was very different.
I think, a lot of times you hear the left talk about, well, if we just had more social workers, we had more therapists dealing with, violent offenders or different situations, like we wouldn't have all these problems, like we need to have less police. And like you have experience dealing with someone who struggles with mental illness. And so what would you say? Like, do you think that is a terrible idea to have a therapist mediator type of person in those situations? It would be better. Like you're the exact type of person that like has real firsthand experience with this. Like, who is right?
I think they're demented because when you're in a scary situation, you need someone strong coming in that can put it out. We shouldn't give lollipops to someone who's being violent and expect them to calm down like they're 4 years old. So no.
Yeah.
I feel more. I've felt and I feel more protected with a strong police officer with a good old gun than a therapist. And I think just one thing I want to say on that note is like, yeah, a lot of times people criticize some of my takes because of my life experiences instead of saying like
saying you're too privileged to be able to speak on things.
Yeah, or instead of saying like, oh no, more so like my takes on like fathers, more so than and they say like, oh, you're being hypocritical, instead of saying maybe it's my life experiences that have given me my takes.
I don't understand that. Okay, so you're talking about when you talk about things like, hey, it causes problems not to have a father figure in the home. It causes problems for young men not to have a like super strong relationship with their father growing up. You're literally saying, yes, that affected me. That happened to me. And they're saying you can't.
They're saying, well, your parents were divorced, so why do you get to talk about it? And I'm like, you retard, because they were divorced, I'm talking about it. What is wrong with you?
Okay, so with all of that going on and before your dad's diagnosis, I mean, that obviously caused, like, I know it was a huge strain in your family. Were there years that you guys didn't really speak to each other? He wasn't even really a part of your life?
So, like, the diagnosis is neither here nor there, because even before diagnosis, there's behaviors. Like, a diagnosis you don't just start behaving a certain way.
But it gives you but you're able to understand, okay, he's doing this because he has different alters or identities living within his brain, that when he is that alter, he thinks he's someone else. He thinks like, because didn't he talk about how he had interests like ballet and studying the FBI and doing all these things because that was probably when he was living as that alter? Is that accurate or no?
Yes, but when, it's something like DID, you don't look at it and go, oh, well, it's fine.
Yeah, it's hard to still forgive it or excuse it.
Right.
Dealing with all of that, how did that affect your view then of men and then what a man should look like? Because you talked about just like being there, being present, being protective. When it comes to even just romantic relationships, do you think that your relationship with your dad has affected the type of guy that you would look for?
It's affected, or it's made me crave something. And that craving is a strong protector and a man that makes me feel safe or whatever. And by the way, I have a great stepdad. And I mean, my dad's in my life. So it's not like, but regardless, like the damage is already done.
Yeah.
I want a protector because, you're your childhood really affects your adult life, period. So yes, it has affected sort of my romantic interest or whatever.
Right. I think millennials, and then really I've seen this with Gen Z even more, which, are you Gen Z?
I'm Gen Z.
That's what I thought. So like there's this huge love affair with the word trauma, and I've talked about this on previous episodes, but it's like they are obsessed. Gen Z is obsessed, and
They
I'm a young
brag
millennial
about
with
it.
trauma. Yes.
They're crazy.
Like it's a whole thing on TikTok, like whatever. So I mean, I feel like you have a legit reason to claim that you have trauma from your childhood. How does it feel when you just see everybody saying like every little minor inconvenience is
it's
trauma?
A trauma. They're just looking for attention, and this is like the currency in our current culture. If you go on TikTok and you make a video talking about your like stupid trauma, that's not a trauma, you're going to get millions of views. You're going to get a lot of likes. It's really great for insecure people who need attention and want to be doted on. You know, I also think if you're so willing and so happy to go brag about it and talk about it, then I question how intense the trauma is.
Well, you know what's really juicy is that, so speaking of people saying that they have trauma or whatever, it's now become a huge thing on TikTok to say that you have DID. And what they're saying, Christian, is, get this, they're saying, oh, well, I have, I'm white and I'm straight, but I have, 20 of my personalities. I've got a black gay woman. I've got, I've got a trans guy with a peg leg. Like someone's Muslim. Like that's what they're doing so that they can say that they're marginalized and get attention and sympathy when they themselves are straight and white.
There's no words for it. I mean, especially like when you've experienced DID and you know someone who has it, they make it look like a clown show. Another thing that's kind of on that note is like, yeah, like these leftists are using trauma as a currency in our culture.
Yes.
And also like leftists, like in LA especially, are using their trans kid or their non-binary kid for bragging points. They just try to use these talking points or these fads as ways to get attention.
You know what this is going to be super controversial to say, at least to the left or whatever, and especially to the LGBTQ lobby, but I really believe that a lot of these parents that are letting their kids transition at 5, 6 years old, it's almost to me like a Munchausen's type of thing, because they do get so much attention and love on the internet, in their communities, all this special privileges at work if you say that you have a trans kid. And so I think these parents kind of like want them to be trans because you gain so much attention, positive attention.
Especially but this is also, you have to look at like in Hollywood where sort of the culture starts. White people literally can't get a job. You can't book if you're white. You're not going on a commercial. You're not booking a show unless you're already a famous white actor.
They're judging names on resumes.
It's all black people getting the jobs. It's all Asians, whatever. But if you're a white person who says, I have a trans kid, and like you're trans or you're non-binary, well, then you get a check mark on the minority box or on the marginalization box. And so you're more attractive to some of these companies or production companies to get booked, to get a job. So that's also another element of it. If we were just judging people fairly and weren't giving people jobs just because of their skin color, maybe we wouldn't see as much of this, but we are.
Yeah. When you were on campus going to college in California, were you forced like, hey, you need to put your pronouns in your email signature, you need to announce them in class before you speak? Did you have to deal with that? And then if so, how did you respond? So
never forced. On Zoom, like first day of class, they might go, tell us your name, your major, and what your pronouns are. And I would skip over it. Luckily, a teacher never said, and what are your pronouns? Because then I would have been like, not retarded.
I always say that.
that proud American. Those are technically my pronouns that I'm proud of. But no, I think because I was in like the Chinese department, I didn't have to take these extremist courses, but I was always armed and ready. Just in case.
Well, because it's funny because China would never let that crap fly.
Never.
They don't allow pronouns and doing all of that stuff, which is the irony.
It's so funny because the one Chinese professor who I got into it with had she, her.
What?
It was an ancient Chinese course.
Did he say anything?
Not about her pronouns, but we just got into it over other things. She was nuts.
So these liberal professors that are teaching courses like about Chinese history and stuff, do you find that they do that because they really do love communism, or they're just like interested in the culture like you are?
This was an ancient Chinese language course.
Okay.
It wasn't even history. I just think specifically this woman is a product of academia, and I don't even think she thought for herself. She got her PhD at Harvard or wherever, and this is just what she doesn't even think. So she just put them in.
Let's talk about who we're vibing with, who we're not vibing with in the conservative movement. Like, who do we really love? Like, who are our favorites right now?
Oh, Governor Ron DeSantis, like that? Yes. Or like influencers?
At all, anything. Like, who do we love? Like, because, okay, can I just say, this is a very unpopular opinion, but I just don't vibe with Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm sorry, I said it. I'm not saying that like some stuff that she's done hasn't been great for us, whatever. It's just, it's okay to say like, hey, like this person's conservative. Yeah, like policy-wise, we might agree on some stuff, but like I don't really click with them. They're not my favorite.
Not vibing with Nikki Haley. Get the hell out of the movement. We're so over you.
100%.
Like, she just has her hands in everything. I'm over her.
Well, that's why I talked about at YWLS at our Young Women's Leadership Summit last month. I talked about how the old conservative movement is dead, meaning we do not answer to the establishment, whether that's on the right or the left. I'm sick of it. Like, we're paving the way for the new conservative generation now. We decide what we're going to be known for.
And we don't respect you. I think they think like they still run the movement, and it's like kind of stripping them of their we don't respect you. We don't want you. We want people like Ron DeSantis. We want people that are more on this populist train.
I just am praying, I'm just crossing my fingers that over the next couple of years that nobody jumps off Governor DeSantis ship. Like I just love him and I just don't want to lose him. And one thing that I've noticed in the last couple of years is that people will be obsessed with someone like Nikki Haley 1 minute and then like she's done. Like she is done now.
Right.
Like the future of conservatism. Governor Noem, very controversial right now, actually. A lot of people still love her. A lot of people are not fans anymore. It's like, dude, every day I wake up and it's like, who do we love? Who do we hate?
Right. Yeah, and I think sometimes we really need to do our research and make sure that what we see on Twitter is true, or make sure we understand a bill fully. That's not a defense or an attack against Kristi Noem. I'm in the middle on her. I don't trust her fully, but
I'm very in the middle too.
I'm very in the middle. I don't.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we need to be building up strong leaders in the party, like Governor Ron DeSantis. There's also John Forte that I really like.
Now, who is that? That sounds familiar.
Governor of Montana. I just know he's great on immigration.
I love that.
He's excellent.
Podcast-wise, influencer-wise, Instagram, who are you enjoying following right now? Even if they're not conservative. Let's just say in general. You're so sweet. He had to say that.
HRH. Who's someone I watch every day? Oh my gosh, there's this one woman. What's her name? Her name's like Kathy or something. She was raised by lesbian parents, and she's like against gay marriage.
Wait!
And she's an icon.
You have to send me who that is. I have to have her on.
You have to have her on.
That's prime.
When my podcast goes video, like she might be the first guest. Like,
dang, okay.
I cannot.
Well, if you don't have her, I want her.
No, you please have her. She needs to be spread like wildfire. She's excellent. Here's the thing. This is what I'm going to say about the conservative movement. Okay, I just started talking crap about BLM in 2020. I was making random videos and they blew up. And I wasn't expecting it. I was working on a different project that was very Hollywood. Like I didn't know what I was doing. And now a lot of the sort of like, not even people like you, but like I just see a lot of people going after like building a following.
I know exactly what you're going to say. Like, I have stuff to say about this.
Like making reels that just like are just kind of weird. And it's like, I don't know if you're actually passionate. I like to entertain and I like to talk, conservative issues. It just blew up one day randomly. I was not seeking anything.
It is such a red flag to me. This is a red flag law I can get behind. It is a red flag to me. The people that jump into the conservative movement and are you can tell who is obsessed with being famous. They are trying to like specifically to be famous themselves. Let me tell you something. I hate, and I tell people this all the time. I'm like, I'm not an influencer. I don't do the influencer thing. I suck at posting on my Instagram. I literally have posted like 2 on my page, personal page. I think I've posted twice in like 4 months. I am horrible. Now, Everything I do, though, my attention, my passion, my blood, sweat, and tears goes into my shows. I spend a lot of time trying to build up politics, but that's a community. The conservative movement is a community and a thing for like other people. It's not about me. It's for them. This show is
praise the Lord.
This show is about my guests and like exposing people to different stories and ideas and amazing life experiences. Like I only pick people who have jaw-dropping, interesting stories or are experts on something for this show. Like I don't understand. You can just see the people that are so curated and are just trying to be a talking head in the conservative movement, and it irks me.
It irks me. Yeah, I try to do the same. Like my page is not necessarily, it's not about my life. It's about conservatism. I just like making funny jokes. I like to entertain. And I see a lot of sort of just like trying to network, trying to get, posted on someone's page who has more than you, switch followers. It's like, that's why I don't post with anyone. That's why I don't really go on tons of podcasts.
I know. I was so honored that you said yes.
I mean, I love your podcast. That's why. I do my own thing.
And you have your own show.
I do, and it's about to go video podcast, uncancelable. Hope y'all love it. But,
yes, talk about that. So you launched that, and you really wanted to kind of talk like more culture things and stuff. Do you feel like you're in the culture lane with that, or have you drifted more into like, no, let's just talk.
Let's
like,
talk politics. So it definitely drifted politics, that's for sure. As it goes video, and I'm actually gonna have a team behind me, praise the Lord, because right now it's just like me just like turning the mic on, recording.
Wait, can I make a suggestion? I
Please
want
do.
your set, I want the podcast set to literally look like you're sitting
in a Starbucks.
In a Starbucks. Why not?
A coffee
obviously
shop.
For branding reasons, it probably shouldn't be Starbucks, but a coffee shop, like that's actually brilliant.
I have a friend that knows like the second up at Starbucks. And she was like, I'm just going to send him a video because you need a sponsorship. And I'm like, oh, he's not going to go for it. Like, I promise they're leftists. And she's like, no, we're doing it. It was a no. So definitely no Starbucks sponsorship anytime soon.
Are you still getting complaints, like people just freaking out, spurging in your DMs, like conservatives being like, so why are you still supporting them? Because I immediately block now any conservatives that send me that crap. Why are you using this makeup brand? Why are you doing this? I'm like, shut up.
Every day, and it's like, I love y'all and I understand, like, don't get me wrong, I'm as conservative as you and I totally get where you're coming from. You don't understand. I live in Los Angeles. The local because this is what they say, go to a local coffee shop. Why are you drinking at Starbucks? Guess what? The local coffee shops are further left. Than Starbucks. Yes. Me shopping at Starbucks is me buying from a conservative brand compared to the other places. And I'm not making my coffee at home. I'm locked at home all the time. I'm a homebody. This is like my going out. Yeah. Going to get a coffee is me going out.
Leaving the house.
So I need to get out of the house.
Tell them about the coffee shop that just opened by you.
Oh my gosh, it's called like Go Get 'em Tiger or something. And cute building, of course, lined up down the block because all the psycho West Hollywood leftists go there. Trans Lives Matter flag, BLM fizz, rainbow flag. The drinks might have something written on it. It's nuts. It's nuts.
How would you define conservatism, and in your opinion, what's the future of conservatism?
Oh my gosh, that's a big question. Conserving traditional values, putting Americans first before foreigners.
Preach.
Law and order, protecting the border. I mean, when I say protect the border, protecting the country, period. And again, putting the interests of Americans first. And I think the future looks like leaning into that versus where we came from, which was very neocon, neo-lib. It's more nationalism.
Looking back, are there things that you think, okay, I wish President Trump would have did a little bit differently during his presidency? Or are you happy with how that went? You're just like a little iffy on him now? Or what's the temperature with Christian Walker and your feelings on former President Trump?
I love President Trump, of course, know him. My parents have known him since they were like 19. Of course, did so many great things and was like, created this movement. I mean, that campaign in 2016 was absolutely brilliant. I mean, thank God for President Trump. I think love him. I'll say one thing I was frustrated, and everyone loves to fight about this. Half of the people are like, he couldn't do anything. The other half are like, he should have done something. Listen, I live in LA. My city burned for months.
Yeah.
And I felt like nothing was done during BLM.
You felt a little abandoned.
I felt abandoned.
But is that really Trump or is that Governor Newsom?
Or Governor Newsom. I know. That's the thing. I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
I think, there's a lot of stars. Governor DeSantis.
I think you said this really well.
There's a lot of stars.
Yes.
And the press secretary out of Florida, I just got it, Christina Pushaw.
What is the deal with Christina Pushaw? Because I have heard this girl's name 100 times. Do I need to have her on the show?
Oh, she's so good.
Why? What is everybody so obsessed with? I just am in the dark on this.
So what's so excellent about her is, of course, like the media is starting to treat Governor DeSantis like former President Trump, just dragging his name through the mud. And Christina Pushaw, the Great. I call Governor DeSantis Ron DeSantis the Great, and I need to come up with a nickname for Christina Pushaw. Christina Pushaw, the icon. She just is on Twitter, and 2 seconds after the article comes out, she debunks the whole thing. She debunks it. She fights with the reporters. She's very
like Florida
strong.
Kayleigh McEnany.
Yes, she is. And I just like this. I like this playing offense. And I like this strength out of conservatism. For so long, I've just felt like we're weak while the left just dominates us and yells at us. And now we're coming up and we're playing offense. And that's one thing she does really well. She'll post emails of what reporters say to her. She just doesn't care. And so I'm liking the offense.
Okay, I'm gonna have to check her out. Maybe we'll have her on too. And I want the woman with the lesbian moms. If you don't do that, are you gonna be doing interviews or what?
Yeah, I am. So, I don't do any interviews right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So, what is the direction going forward for people to look forward to with Uncancelable?
So with Uncancelable, the direction going forward, it's shifting to video. We're going to be doing interviews, and I want to talk to a lot of dissident liberals.
Ooh.
I'm a conservative, but I noticed this trend in mainstream pop culture, Azalea Banks, where
Azalea Banks?
I love her.
She's problematic.
She's problematic. She's crazy. But like these people that don't subscribe to wokeness, I'm very interested to hear from them. I'm interested in talking. I talk a lot of dating on TikTok. I want to talk about dating. I want to talk, non-political things, traditional things.
So wait, when you talk about dating, because you said you don't really share about your personal life, does that mean you want to give advice to other people, or you want to start being like transparent about your personal life?
A little bit of transparency and just talking about like what we should expect out of men and women in relationships.
What should we expect?
We should expect men to be protectors and providers and to keep their dingling in their pants instead of expecting all of these things out of women while they bang the whole town. And we should expect women to be okay with sometimes being submissive or, not necessarily being this girl boss, because a lot of these girl bosses.
I'm so sick of girl boss. Girl boss is over.
Happy.
Girl boss is like chuggy, really, as Gen Z would say. But girl boss is done. Like millennials killed it.
Girl boss is done. And I say to my left-wing followers on TikTok, I'm like, don't you want to like stay home while the big muscle men go to work?
Yes.
Like, stay home and shop. And they're like, this is what we want. I'm like, feminism lied to you. They told you had to go out and own this big company. You don't have to do that. If you want to do that, you go do your own life. We're in America. You can do what you want. I just want to offer another way.
I was just crossing my fingers during the pandemic that what was going to happen was a lot of these kids that ended up having to go home from school, and like finish their school online or whatever, that they were like, okay, maybe I don't need this. Maybe I can go do something else, take some time for myself, figure out what I want. Because my generation was sold the lie so heavily that you will not be successful if you didn't go to college. I didn't go to college. Charlie Kirk didn't go to college.
Y'all are so smart.
And I am so thankful
jealous
for that every day.
You don't need college.
You didn't have to. You didn't have to go.
No, but I didn't know what I was going to. I didn't know. If I had this at 18, I wouldn't have gone.
Yeah.
I didn't know exactly what I was going to do. I had different plans. That's another big thing I want to focus on.
Did you think you wanted to do pro cheer? Weren't you really into cheer?
Oh, I was a competitive cheerleader through high school, but like pro cheer, that's not really a thing.
Oh, not like cheer on Netflix type? I don't really know anything about cheer
cheered with
world.
them actually, but they're not like professionals.
What do you think about that scandal with the Jerry guy?
I won world championships with him. He was on my team.
So did you get weird vibes from him?
Never. So but there's a lot of that in the cheer world, nasty stuff.
Is he younger than you, or you're older? Or?
He's older.
He's older. So I'm surprised that he didn't like. I mean,
I was too old for him.
Oh,
that's what it seems.
Sick, dude.
It's disgusting.
It's just so weird because he was just such a star on that show.
Yeah, take care of your kids, parents. Like, you never know what's really going on. I'm working on another project right now that is really vulnerable about my life. So I promise
Really?
Yes, I am. Parents really monitor your children. And if I had a child, I wouldn't want to chokehold my child and not allow them to go experience the world. But we live in such a dangerous culture.
Would you want them to grow up in LA though?
Oh, Lord.
See, my boyfriend...
If they did, they just wouldn't leave the house.
My boyfriend is in Newport Beach, so he's obsessed with Orange County. That's where he wants to raise and have a family.
You got to.
So, like...
You could totally do it there.
You do it, and that's where Alex
My
HRH
parents might
is.
buy a house in Newport, so I'll be there all the time. So when you come, please, let's hang out.
Let me come, and I just want to be there like a little mouse and watch you and Alex HRH film your collab.
It's so funny because I think we're both so different off camera or in something like cute and low-key like this.
No, you and Alex HRH, it's so funny because when she came here to film her episode, one of the first things she said to me, which her and I have been like friends online for years, but we hadn't ever met in person really before that. And so she shows up and she goes, I just want to let you know, like, I'm not always like that. You know that, right? Like, I'm not always yelling. She says that to me. I'm like, Alex, I know.
And the meanest people online or the meanest celebrities are always the nicest in person. I'm not mean online, but I'm a little nasty sometimes or rude.
It's just like more like an exaggerated thing.
Totally. And the nice people online are always bitchy in person.
Yes.
Always.
Yes. Okay, so speaking of meeting celebrities on and offline and like who's real and who isn't, you got to hang out with Kat Von D.
Love her.
Which when was that? Was that during the pandemic?
That was about a year ago, but I've seen her recently because she had an album party. She's excellent.
She's so cool.
She's so cool.
She likes politics episodes sometimes and stuff, which I think is super fun.
Yeah.
And, she left LA to move to Indiana.
Don't break my heart. Yeah,
I know.
She did.
That's where I'm from.
Oh, really? Oh, I forgot you had your show there.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'm from Indiana.
You're an Indiana
like, would you ever go back? I'm like, no. Like, out of all the states, like, trying to get away from what she was getting away from, I'm like, really, Indiana?
She loves it because she's just holed up, and it's good for her, yeah.
So, did you get to go see her, like, Gothic mansion in LA, though, when you were there?
Yeah, it was...
The Red Pool!
It was the Red Pool. Crazy, so cool. She had an insane, artistic, awesome house. And who would have thought that she was a conservative? Now I'm like, oh, of course she is. But what was even funnier was she had this awesome album party or album release party or whatever, and I got to go to it. And, a lot of people there were very Gothic in their style and whatever. So I brought one friend and, we're not, but we tried to I'm wearing this.
Did you dress like a scene kid or what?
I totally I wore this Saint Laurent black top with stars on it, thinking I was goth.
That was as goth as he gets.
It wasn't. But everyone at the party was coming up and they were like, I love your stuff. And it just goes to show you really never know who has conservative values. Some of the people that I judge online and I'm like, oh, they're weird hair color. Sometimes they're just artsy.
Do you have any celebrities that slide into your DMs that just say hey, I cannot be public about my views, but I do love your videos and I think you're hilarious or anything?
Totally.
Without saying who it was, what kinds of things did they say to you?
Or I have people that come up in person, but a lot of people that say, I support my family like this. I'd be totally blacklisted out of the industry. I can't say a thing, but thank you for your work.
A-list, B-list, or C-list?
Every list.
Ooh.
Every list.
Juicy.
Yeah.
Okay, Christian, remind people where they can follow you, where they can listen to Uncancelable. How often do you post episodes and all that?
So you can find me at Christian Walker. The Ian Walker is the number 1 on Instagram and Twitter. I'm on TikTok at official Christian Walker. Ian Walker is the number 1. I have my podcast Uncancelable, all streaming platforms. I do 1 to 2 episodes a week. We're shifting to video. And don't come if you're going to be easily offended. I hate people who are easily offended. Don't be sensitive.
Thank you, Christian, for coming on the Spillover.
Thanks for having me.
So many things that Christian said in this interview totally caught me off guard and surprised me. You can see my face for yourself if you watch this episode on the Politics YouTube. But I bet a lot of people wouldn't know how violent and scary Christian's childhood was. If you Google it, you can read some of the news reports from the time, the police reports. It's very disturbing stuff, or, that he struggles with the attraction he has to men. But at the same time, to me, I don't know about you, but just going through that interview and talking to him, it kind of came across that he feels and knows that being gay is a sin. And it also surprised me that he's much more of an introvert than an extrovert. I don't think a lot of people would guess that one. I will say this. His skin is just as gorgeous in person as it is online, like an absolutely flawless face. So if the left wants to hate Christian Walker for anything, maybe it should be that. Also, you better DM this link to this episode to Allie Stuckey and tell her Christian Walker is dying to go on her show to discuss homosexuality. I want to hear that just as badly as you probably do. Every week, it is a guarantee that whoever I interview, whether you've heard of them before or it's your first time, you're going to learn something and you're going to be on the edge of your seat. Make sure you're subscribed to The Spillover and not only clicking download. And always, 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 please leave a 5-star review to support us weekly. Share this episode on social media if you loved it. The Spillover is back next Thursday, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I'm Alex Clark, and this is The Spillover. Love you, mean it. Bye.